Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Beth, and if you're new, welcome. It's nice to be sewing with you today. Today I'm making a round casserole carrier. I have the one I made right here. This is the one we're making today, and I got the idea from these two old casserole carriers or pie carriers. I use them for salads, muffins, anything I'm taking to a potluck or to a friend's. And I try to use a round dish, and most of the round dishes I have fit in these. If it's a 9 by 13, of course I can't use that. But I do like using these when I'm going places, and I thought I would show you how to do it. It takes 2 circles of fabric, some bias tape, a little more fabric for the handles, and pretty easy to put together. Let's get started. Here's my super cute fabric I'm using today, this apple fabric, and my bias binding here. It's a super old package, but it still works. I'm showing you this because I think that would be what you would see these days. It's 7/8 of an inch wide. And I also have an old compass here to help me with my circle. My circle is 14.5 inches wide, so I used this. If you had a large circle, a really large mixing bowl or something that's 14.5 inches across, you could also use that, but I'm using this compass on the very largest width that I could get. Pencil line was a little faint, so I went over my pencil line with a little bit of pen so that I would be able to easily see my circle when I went to cut my fabric. For the center circle, I did use a bowl. It was a little easier for me to mark using a bowl, and I used a pen because my line will be covered up with the bias tape, and I just sort of centered it. It doesn't need to be perfectly centered for this project, and then I just drew a line around my bowl. Pinned my fabric pieces together. This is 2 layers of fabric, and I cut around the outside circle. After cutting the outside circle, I took the top circle and I'm cutting that smaller 9-inch circle just from that one layer of fabric. This is the top layer. I gave myself a little hole there, and then I carefully cut along my drawn line. I ended up pulling out some more bias tape that's thinner. This is 1/2 inch bias tape, and I'm going to be adding that smaller circle to the inside of my casserole carrier. This is sort of on the inside, on the bottom where the bowl or the pan will sit, and I'm going to pin that small circle down, centering it. Again, it doesn't need to be exact. And I'm going to take the bias tape and I'll be sewing on either side of this bias tape, just attaching that small circle to the inside of the larger circle. I did have enough apple fabric to make handles, but I thought it would be fun to choose sort of a coordinating fabric to make the handles, just to make this a fun project. These handles are 4 inches by 17 inches, and I pressed the handles in half, and then I pressed each side into the center there, and then I'll be sewing those folded sides together to make the handles. Now I need to cut across anywhere on that outside circle, sort of that tube looking circle. I'm going to cut an opening, and I'll be adding a little bit of that bias binding to both sides, both raw edges of this circle. Now that I have those raw edges covered, I'm going to take my 7/8 inch bias binding, and I'll open, after I fold the raw edge down, I'm going to open one side where it's been folded by the manufacturer. I'm going to open that up and put it on the wrong side of the inside of this circle, the inside of this sort of tube looking circle, and this is going to be the casing for my tie. When I finish my carrier here, I'll be pulling a tie through this casing. So I put it on the wrong side, and then I turned it to the right side, and I just top stitched all the way around. Now it's time to put it all together. Here's the bottom, and then we have the top, and I'll be putting the raw edges together and adding the ties. Then I will add the bias binding all the way around. I turned my casserole carrier upside down, and I'm going to add the binding all the way around. I folded down the raw edge sort of at an angle there so that when I finish there will be no more raw edges, and I'll open up the that fold on the binding, and I will sew all the way around. Then I will fold it to the front and top stitch all the way around. After getting all of my stitches in, all I had to do was add a tie, and I had this flat braid in my sewing room. I used this to put through that casing and with a safety pin, and then I was ready to go. I filled my bowl with plums. It's plum season here, and I was sewing rather than baking today, so I thought I'd show you. This big bowl fits just fine in this beautiful new casserole carrier. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.